Physical science teaching pedagogy. Already we discussed various parts of physical science pedagogy, which comes as a part 1 in your paper. You learned various teaching methods and strategies. You discussed about different resources for the mathematical and physical science pedagogical teaching, and you learned various concepts concerned of physical science concerned with the daily life situations, how it is related. Like so many concepts we discussed, the most important concept we are going to discuss it now, that is plans and the learning experiences. So teaching is an art, already I said, it should be organized. Organized means it should be a pre-planned. We gave the textbooks to all the school teachers in the month of March, but academic year starts from June 12th. So why we provide the textbooks to all the teachers and schools in the month of March? Can you think about it? The reason is the teacher has to read each and every sentence of the concepts and content which is given in the particular syllabi of the concerned academic year. And we gave teacher note and student note also. And he has to identify the different concepts, how they are related, because the first chapter may be connected with the last chapter, or the second chapter is connected with the third chapter. What are the interrelations of it? For example, if you consider the 10th class a textbook, so we gave some information. Okay, we gave optics. In the optics, we give the reflection, refraction, and other properties also. How they are interrelated, this is the most important. So the teacher has to plan how to transact all these lessons in a particular period of time. So as per authentic authority of Telangana state, SCRT Telangana is a authentic authority. So it provides the different kinds of plans. Those are incorporated in the pedagogy of physical science in the present academic years. Okay, so now we are using 3 plans, of course. One is called year plan, and the second one is called unit plan or lesson plan, and the third one is a period plan. These are the 3 plans which are used to plan the total content which is given in the syllabi to give the classroom transaction in an effective manner. Okay, so those are, first one is year plan, second one is lesson plan or unit plan, and the third one is period plan. Okay. Year plan, lesson plan, of course here lesson means here generally non-language subjects, they are call it as a unit plan, and for languages we call it as a lesson plan. And the next one is a period plan. These are the 3 plans which are used in the present system. Okay, we are going to learn what are the steps in writing a year plan, what is the use of the year plan, how we are going to write a year plan for the physical science. We will discuss it now first. Okay, year plan. So for example, the textbook has nearly 14 chapters. So here 220, from between 220 to 240 are working days for an academic year. So we have to plan for that particular academic year how the teaching learning periods will be distributed among all these 14 chapters. Okay, so I will give the skeleton model of year plan first, and then we will discuss it how we are going to write it. So the skeleton year plan is, first in the year plan you have to write, in the year plan you have to write the first one for which class. So whether you are going to write the year plan for 7th or 8th or 9th or 10th, whatever it may be, you are going to write which class it is. Now the second one is you have to write the subject, which subject it is. Of course, for us it is a physical science, you have to write a physical science. Now come to the third one. Okay, third one is a number of periods. Okay, These number of periods as classified into three kinds. One is the teaching learning periods, and the second one is laboratory activity periods, or exercise periods. So, we want to do this, and the third one is projects. So, here the number of periods will be classified as three. One is the teaching learning periods, how many periods are required for the classroom transaction. So, that will comes in the teaching learning periods. You know that the philosophy of the textbook, correct? The philosophy of the textbook is is just we are going to perform first notion of the chapter, am I correct? Notion of the chapter, then you have to perform the activities, then you have to develop the conceptual formation, then you have to perform the laboratory activities, then you have to discuss the keywords, then you have to improve your learning. This is the most important, correct? So, this is the skeleton analysis of the concept flow in the each and every chapter. There, so the first part is notion, performing activities, conceptual development. For those concepts we are using as a teaching learning periods. Now, next there are some laboratory activities. So, the teacher has to perform these laboratory activities in the laboratory itself. Otherwise, there are improve your learning means there are four kinds of questions are there: higher order thinking questions, multiple choice questions, conceptual understanding questions like. So, you have to explain those things in the classroom. For those you have to categorize, you have to allocate some periods for it. And next, for each formative assessment we are going to conduct one project for each subject. Even for physical science also, for you have to conduct 4 formative assessments, and each formative assessment you have to conduct one project. So, in the academic year we have to conduct 4 projects. So, we have to allocate 4 or 6 periods. Because of our project you have to give the aim and objective or title of the project, and you have to give some information how to perform the project and what are your inputs and what are the outcomes. Like the teacher has to give some, and the children also has to present a oral presentation at the same time written presentation. So, for that you have to give the project. So, this is a very important. The number of periods which are allocated for the classroom transaction will be categorized as 3: teaching learning periods, laboratory activity periods, and the next one is projects. Is it clear? This is very important. Now, coming to the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes. You know that you have a learning out. How many learning outcomes you have it? Already you know that learning outcomes are 7. I understand. Maybe just now in the as an academic standards, already I explained to you as an academic standards, learning outcomes are 7. So, we have to write all the learning outcomes, and from the learning outcomes what you are understanding. So, I will recapitulate all those things once again in this. So, this in the year plan, once again I am clearing this in the year plan. The first one is you have to write the class. For example, if it is a 10th class, you have to write it as a 10th. Okay, next subject. So, you are going to teach the physical science subject. So, you have to write it as a physical science. And the third one is the number of periods. How many periods are allocated for teaching learning process will be classified as 3: teaching learning periods, laboratory activity performed periods or exercise periods, and third one is the projects. So, for oral presentation and or written presentation you have to allocate some periods for the projects. Now, coming to the next one is the fourth one is the learning outcomes. So, you know that learning outcomes are 7 for the physical science. What is the first one? You know that first one is a conceptual understanding. Conceptual understanding. And the second one, what is the second one? It is a questioning and hypothesis. Questioning and hypothesis. What is the third one? Third one is experiment and field observations, experimentation and field observations, okay. A fourth one is, you know, that information skills, and the fifth one is, you know, that diagrammatic skills, and the sixth one is appreciation, values, and consciousness towards biodiversity, and the seventh one is, you know, that it is a daily life applications. Okay, so these are the 7 academic standards. Of course, we will call it as a learning outcomes. This is very important. The word, whatever it may be, is generally in the formative assessments or in the CCE system, we use the word as academic standards, but in writing your year plan, you have to write it as a learning outcomes. So very important. So the first one is a conceptual understanding. So you have to write, he has to understand the concept of reflection of light, okay, or he has to understand the concept of refraction of light, like that conceptual understanding. What he understand, he has to write it, okay, and he had to compare the relation between and the difference between concept, of course, of reflection and refraction. What are the laws of reflection? So he has to explain, like has to write according to the conceptual understanding, he has to write it. That's very important. Now coming to the next one is questioning hypothesis, where the reflection takes place and what are the laws of reflection and how it takes impact on the different properties of the light. Like he has to question those things that comes under the questioning and hypothesis. Experimentation and field observation. So through field observations, he will gain some knowledge, he acquires some knowledge, and performing the experiments in the classroom or the laboratory, they will perform. He has to write those things. And information skills. Information skills means here, so he has to write. So he will collect the information about the optics and about different kinds of lens and its properties and the image, virtual image or real image, and all the things where the object is placed, what is the image will form, what is the relation between, and what is meant by focal length, like everything that information will be explained by in that particular area. And now coming to the one diagrammatic skills. So diagrammatic is very important. Without diagram there is no concept, especially in physics. So when they are going to teach the optics chapter, so diagrammatic is very important. So where the object is and with respect to lens where the image will form, they has to explain everything. So diagrammatic skills is very important. So he develops the diagrammatic skills by representing within the diagrammatic form. Now coming to the next one, appreciation. So this is very important. So appreciation, aesthetic sense, creativity, intrinsic cut, okay, scientific attitude, all these are the important qualities of a science teacher and the science student. So he has to appreciate the concept and he has to develop the aesthetic sense to know about the nature. So that's a very important. So he has to write all those things in it. Now coming to the next one, daily life application. So already yesterday we discussed about how science is relative with the daily life situation. So we will explain those things also, how the light is given impact to daily life applications. We have to write 2 or 3 sentences for each one. So there are 7 academic standards, or you can call it as a learning outcomes: conceptual understanding, questioning hypothesis, experimentation and field observations, information skills, diagrammatic skills, appreciation values, consciousness towards the biodiversity, and the last one is daily life application. So the teacher has to write in their year plan as a 4th point all these things. This is the most important. Now coming to the next one is the 5th point here, that is called monthly wise plan or month wise plans. Okay, this is a tabular form. This is the most important. The first one is month. Which month? Okay. Now the second one is name of the unit. And the third one is number of periods allocated. The fourth one is teaching learning material, TLM, or simply you call it as a resources. The fourth one is programs to be organized. Okay, programs to be organized. The last one is evaluation. These are the various steps in the tabular form. This is the most important. The first one is called month. So, we started from June onwards, correct? In the June and July, August, September, October, November, December, January or February. So, you have to finish the total syllabi before month of February, because so in June and July is categorized for formative 1 assessment, and August and September meant for so some formative 2, and October you know that generally we will conduct a summative 1 examination. November and December we are using for summative 3, January and February for summative, of course formative 4, and in the March will be summative 2. This is the allocation of the assessment periods, correct? Okay. So, you have to write the for each month, you have to keep all those things in the month, and a very important you have to consider the different festivals, holidays, and all those you have to allocate all those things. So, first write the name of the unit, that is a very important, and the number of periods. Number of periods means here you have to take the academic calendar and you have to see for each unit how many periods are required. Already I said the number of periods means here you have to consider all the periods, one for teaching learning process, second for laboratory activity, performing laboratory activity, third one is performing project. So, you are allocated for these 3 categories, all comes as a one and number of periods, that is a very important. For example, for the chapter of atomic structure, so for example, you categorize as 16 periods, you have to write 16 periods. And teaching learning resources, this is a very, very important. Teaching learning material simply called resources. So, if it is an assets and bases, so you need some assets, you need some bases, you need some indicators, you need some litmus papers, correct? So, all these which are required, which comes all comes as a teaching learning material, that is the most important. We will use it as a resources also. Now, coming to the next one is programs to be organized. So, in the particular year you are going to celebrate Science Day, we are going to celebrate Haritaharam, which is a part of our science, correct. So, you have to celebrate other things. So, those will be means inspire awards. So, for that you are going to prepare some projects. So, all comes is as a, sometimes you are going to conduct a science lab, science clubs also. Science clubs are very important, science labs are very important, and quiz competitions is going to organize. So, you have to allocate for each month which type of things you are going to be organized, which program going to be organized. For example, in the month of February you are going to celebrate Science Day. So, February 28th will be celebrated as a Science Day. So, celebrating Science Day. In general, in the month of March we will celebrate the Inspire Awards, means so exhibition of things, exhibits. So, that is a very important. Like so, some science melas also going to be there. In the month of December or January, science seminars also will conduct. So, all will be listed out in this programs to be organized. And the next one is evaluation. Evaluation means so already we are in the system of continuous comprehensive evaluations. Every day we have to evaluate that. So, when the teacher is going to prepare this year plan, if those things will be kept in mind, those that is the most important. So, they have to ask, so which they are going to evaluate, in which area they are going to evaluate. This is the most important. Clear? These are the steps. So, once again I am recapitulating all these things. That is the first one, you have to write a month. First one is the month. Second one is name of the unit. You have to write the name of the unit. How many units you have, for example, in the textbook. And for this I will give a simple idea to you. A textbook index page is more than enough for you. Maybe you understand that. Okay. In the index only we gave the month, we gave the topic name, we gave the number of periods allotted. So, it is clear because we did some research on it, and with a scientific manner. So, we did all these things. You can take it as it. And one more very helpful to you, it means the last pages of your textbook, you have what the academic standards you are going to be achieve, that is called learning outcomes. The academic standards also given in the textbook, correct. So, you can take the academic standard as it is. You can improvise it, that is your wish, but you can improvise. That is the minimum thing. So, just take the academic standards which are given in the textbook as it is, as a learning outcomes. You have to present all those in the year plan. That is one more important. Now coming to the next one is of course evaluation. You know the number of periods already given, teaching learning material, and it is highly useful for you. Recently the RMSA, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, so state organization gave the laboratory books for each class, for 6th, 7th one book, 8th, 9th, 10th another book. So, like for 2 sets of copies is given to the each school. So, definitely what are the required activities for each chapter, and what are the teaching learning material is required for, or what are the equipment required for exhibiting those activities, that will be clearly given. So, it is very easy to you to write those teaching learning material, teaching learning resources. Clear? And now the programs to be organized, just now I gave some examples to you. The programs to be achieved means, so you are going to celebrate a science day, we are going to celebrate science mela, and we are going to exhibit some exhibits in the exhibition day. We are going to conduct science quizzes, and science olympiad is also going on. So, we have to give the information to the science olympiads, and very important is in the month of November. All of you know that in the month of November, when is the first Sunday of November, so NTSC prelims examination is going on. It is fixed. The first Sunday of November is the examination for first stage of examination for NTSC, National Talent Search Examination, clear. And second Sunday of May will be the second stage of NTSC examination. So, first stage of NTSC examination will be conducted by SCRT, and the second stage of NTSC examination will be conducted by NCRT. So, we know that those programs also to be organized in this manner. And the final one is evaluation. We are in the process of continuous comprehensive evaluation. So, those evaluation will be here. So, once you prepare a year plan, so before going to the classroom, then it is very clear. So, your plan is 100% is organized way. So, definitely your classroom transaction may be effective and enriched. This is a compulsory. Each and every teacher has to write the year plan. By using year plan, then you are going to write the unit plan. So, is it clear? So, this is the 5th step. Now, coming to the 6th step. After table, this is 6th one is the teacher reflections. Teacher reflections are very important. So, what is the teacher reflections on this? Teacher reflections means here, when I visited some of schools, they as an observer. So, what I find the teacher reflections, today of course, I did the class very well. So, children are understanding very well. It is not the your personal reflection. So, that is a teacher reflections means here sometimes there is a lagging of concepts. So, sometimes you need more conceptual information. So, you are going to identify that, and you have to write those informations and collect it from the various reference books. So, that is called teacher reflections. Okay. Sometimes some words are difficult to transact in the classroom. Sometimes it's a pronunciation also difficult, because retentivity, susceptibility, permeability, these words are pronunciation is a little bit of difficult, and recalling those words also difficult to the children. So you have to give the practice to that, and you have to how to remember those things also. Kirchhoff laws, Ohm law, Wheatstone bridge. See, these words are a little bit of difficult to pronounce it, so we have to give that. So, and giving the meaning for them also very important. So, like where you find a difficulty in the classroom transaction and where you need some conceptual clarity, you have to write it as a teacher reflections in the sixth one. Now, coming to the last one is seventh one is headmaster or principal. Headmaster or the principal of the school or institution. Okay, headmaster or principal of the institution reflects reflections and suggestions. Suggestions. This is a very important. So here already we said a headmaster for every week he has to observe one class, at least one class of one teacher. So the physical science teacher will be observed by headmaster in one class. So he will observe, so whether he is transacting the class in a proper order or not, as per the instruction of the pedagogy or not, she will observe. And so how the children are participated, whether he opt only lecture method or opting any different method to involve the children in that. So how he maintain the notion of the chapter. Okay, what kind of teaching learning material is used. So is it an organized classroom or not? Like he will observe, he will headmaster will write his reflections in the year plan register. So that's a very, very important year plan. Is it clear? So here, so why I said a headmaster oblique principal means here. So you are going to be selected for the residential schools. There is no headmaster post. There will be a principal post only. So generally, so that's the reason we said headmaster and principals. Mostly in model schools you have the principal post, and in even all kinds of residential schools like social welfare, tribal welfare, minority welfare, and Kasturibaga girls schools, all these. So post is a principal, and if it is a government schools, that's you call it as a headmaster. So headmaster, the head of the institution, will write their reflections. It will be noted in that your book. So finally the year plan will be completed. Is it clear? So year plan is a very simple to write. You have to write the year plan before the commencement of the academic year, and it should be supported with the academic calendar which was given by the SCRT and DSC, Director of School Education. Is it clear? And very simple tip to write a year plan in a simple manner. So take the textbook, take the index of the textbook, and write those clearly categorized. So in which month, in which chapter you are going to take, in how many periods, that information is given. It's already calculated in a scientific manner. So you can, but it's not mandatory. So you can change those number of periods according to your classroom standard. So the number of periods may be changed. Maybe, for example, we gave it as 18 periods. Sometimes you may take it as a 20 periods also. It's not a problem. So you have to follow that. The steps is very clear. Already I said you have to write the first one as a class. Second one is with subject. It is third one is you have to write number of periods. And the fourth one is what are the learning outcomes you are expecting, and so we call it as a expected learning outcomes. Okay, or you can say academic standards. And the fifth one is the tabular form. In the tabular form you have month, name of the unit, clear, number of periods allotted, and teaching learning material, and programs to be organized, and evaluation. These are the columns in that particular year plan. And the sixth one is the teacher has to write the teacher reflections after the completion of it. And the seventh one is the headmaster oblique principal suggestions and reflections. Okay, so if a teacher can write this year plan once, that's more than enough. So up to change of a textbook, so you can maintain the year plan. If there is any information is required, he has to add something. He has to add in the teacher reflections for that. So for teacher reflections, they have to leave nearly 6 or 7 pages in their year plan. This is a very important note. Is it clear? So this is year plan. Now we are shifting to the next kind of plan. We call it as a lesson plan or a unit plan. So, you know that lesson plan already use that word is not a difficult task. Of course, lesson or unit, generally in non-languages we are using unit, and in languages we are using lesson. So, do not confuse that, and simply lesson plan, or you can write it as a unit plan. Okay. For each unit you have to write the unit plan. This is a very important. In the unit plan, again like year plan, you have the steps. So, first one is class. For which class you are preparing the unit plan. Now, the second one is which lesson it is, or which unit is, lesson oblique unit. So, which unit is, you have to write for that. Now, coming to the third one is number of periods. So, number of periods required are allocated. How many periods here? Again you have the things here. One is teaching learning periods, TLPs, and the second one is laboratory activity periods, LAP. So, number of periods for this, what are the teaching learning periods, you have to allocate that, and what is the learning, of course, laboratory activity periods. Is it clear? So, here I did not mention the project means because for each unit there is no need of conducting one project. For 4 formative assessments we have to conduct 4 projects, that is more than enough. Okay. So, in the particular formative assessment period, so there may be 3 chapters or 3 units may be allocated. So, for 3 units are there in the particular formative assessment period, it does not mean that you have to conduct 3 projects. So, for that reason, so there is no allocation of the periods for the project. Is it clear the difference between year plan and unit plan? In the year plan, number of periods will be classified as 3: teaching learning periods, laboratory activity periods, and project periods. When you come into the unit plan, it is as a teaching learning periods and laboratory activity periods. That is a difference, small difference, you know that the rest is similar. And then the fourth one is learning outcomes. So, just now I said like, so it is very similar to the year plan. Is here the learning outcomes means here what are the academic standards. Already we discussed the 7 academic standards, you have to write the academic. But here for this you have to write in your own, because in the textbook year wise means total concept wise is given. So, it is there is no unit wise. So, that is the reason you have to allocate those by observation only. You have to write what is the conceptual understanding, what is the questioning and hypothesis, what is the information skills, what is the field observations, and what is the diagrammatic skills, and what is the appreciation, values, and consciousness towards the biodiversity, what is the daily life application. Like all these 7 academic standards are learning outcomes you have to write in a stepwise for each one, or 1 or 2. So, according to the syllabi or a content which is given in the particular unit. So, that is the most important, that will be as a 4th one. Now, coming to the 5th one is teaching learning material, TLM, teaching learning material. This is another one. So, it is clearly for each chapter it needs some specific teaching learning material, you have to mention that teaching learning material. For example, if you consider as a light, so optics, so lenses are required, mirrors are required, correct. So, some candle is required to exhibit, a pinhole camera model is required, clear. So, like what are the required teaching learning material, we have to gather those things and we have to write it as a teaching learning material or the resources. Now, coming to the next one is period wise timetable. Is it clear? So, once again I am recapitulate all these things. So, here unit plan. So, unit plan means you have the class is the first one, second is you have to write the unit name, third one is the number of periods is required, how many periods are required for it, for which are allocated teaching learning periods and laboratory activity performed periods. And the fourth one is learning outcomes, you have to write what are the learning outcomes for it. And now fifth one is teaching learning material, this is the most important. So, after that now we are going to write for 6th one is the period wise plan. 6th is period wise plan. There is a tabular form. Okay. In the tabular form, the first one is you know that number of periods allocated. Here the number of period Okay. So, number of period means here you have the timetable, in the timetable you have to write the first period. For example, for one unit 18 periods are allocated in the year plan. First period what you are going to teach, second period what you are going to teach, third period, like for each period which sub concept or a concept you are going to explain. You have to write that sub concept or concept or content name or topic name. So, number of period here, one you have to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this is clear. Okay. The second one is topic, which topic it is. Okay, which topic? Just now I said, so we said for example, if you take optics, lens, introduction of lens, the first period. Second, various kinds of lenses. So, you have convex lens, you have concave lens, and convex lens has 3 kinds once again. Those are biconvex, plano-convex, concavo-convex, and concave lens again 3 kinds. We have to say biconcave, plano-concave, convexo-concave. So, like you have different kinds of lenses and we have to write the their properties, how they are working. So, like chapter will be going on, according to the concept flow in that particular chapter or the unit, you have to write that particular topic. Okay. Now, come to the next one is strategies. So, which strategy you are going to use it, whether you are using brainstorming strategy or whether you are using concept mapping strategy, whether you are using mind mapping strategy or whether you are using analytical method or synthetic method or project method or problem solving method, which method you are going to, which strategy you are going to adopt for the classroom transaction in an effective manner which gives understanding to all the children. So, that will be you have to write it as whether it is a activity based method or is individual activity or you are using a group activity, all those things, which strategy it is and which method it is, you have to write it in a very clear manner. So, now coming to the next one is resources. So, resources is a very important. So, what kind of teaching learning material? Nothing but resources means here. So, for example, you want to explain the resources. So, you want to explain the resources means here just write the names, what are the resources. So, just now optics already I said lenses, mirrors, okay, candle, okay, one screen, all those comes as a resources for that are teaching learning material. So, you have to write those things. Now, coming to the next one is evaluation. So, you have to write few questions, about evaluating the total system. That is a very, very total concept. You have to write some few questions for assessment or evaluation. So, these are the columns in the period wise plan. This is the most important. So, first you have a number of period, which period it is, first period, second period, third period, and the second one is a topic, which concept or which topic you are going to explain in the particular period and which strategy you are adopted. So, you have to write the strategy or method name and which resources you are, what are the teaching learning material resources you are using for classroom transaction and evaluation, how you are going to assess the children for understanding of the concept. This is there is some think and discuss questions is there, which comes in the laboratory activity method, correct. So, you have to write it. So, maybe all of you who are viewing this live lesson, so they have a doubt here, what is the necessity for writing these plans. So, it is a written work, how it's not a purely a mechanical work, it is a mind work. So, you are organizing, you are planning the total teacher. So, here it's a very, very important. So, maybe so if you write the lesson plan in a proper way, you are a good teacher, sure. If you are unable to write a lesson in a proper order, you are not a good teacher, definitely. There is without having any proper plan, if you come to take the class in the classroom, definitely there are so many myths, there are so many conceptual mistakes, or there is confusion also maybe happen. But once you are organized in this particular period, I have to teach this particular concept by using this strategy as the help of teaching learning material by evaluating in the particular questions means this is a completely organized thing. So, once that is very, very important. Just now I said it should be a class is taking classes in is also an art. So, art has some specific rules and conditions. Teacher has to transact his classroom in an effective manner, means here is a well prepared is a very important. If I want to give a live lesson for this particular 1 hour, so from first second to last second in my memory traces, so it should be a plan. So otherwise if I talk vaguely, then there is no use. For each second what I am going to teach, so I have to make a plan. That is called audio visual plan. So even the live class I have a plan, whether in a written form or in a of course mindset form. So I have to just that should be in my mind, then only I can transact my class very effectively, otherwise it's a very difficult, correct. So like we have to prepare, that's the reason. So we especially in the pedagogy of physical science teaching, these plans are introduced. Even though you are selected as a teacher in this Gurukulas, you have to write your year plan and a period, of course a lesson plan or unit plan perfectly, that's a very important. The headmasters or principals should take an importance of for observing these lesson plans, that's the most important, clear. Okay, now 6th point is over, so it's a tabulation form. Coming to the next one is what you call it as teaching notes. It's a very important. So this 6th one is over. Now 7th point in this unit plan is 7th one is simply additional information or teacher note. Initially when we prepared this B.Ed syllabi, of course for plan, this especially year plan and unit plan, we gave the teacher notes. Through teleconferences on ourselves only we will explain what is the teacher note. But when we just observe, so teacher note means again the teachers are writing their important points. It is not the meaning of teacher note. Teacher note means here where they feel difficulty in the class, kinds of reference required for classroom transaction, like he has to write, but he should not write again dumping of the textbook concepts in the teacher notes. It does not mean, or you understand that. So sometimes, for example, I said one of the example in the previous class here in the textbook in the chapter of optics, the convex lens is a convergent lens and concave lens is a divergent lens. This statement was given, but there is no explanation. But in every children mind, even teacher mind also, how a convex lens will be a convergent and how a concave lens will be a divergent. That question arises then in their mind. So there is some conceptual lagging is there. So as a teacher you have to identify it and you have to write the notes. How a convex lens will be convergent, you have to write the notes, and how a concave divergent, you have to write the note. That comes under the teacher note. Is it clear? Okay, now coming to the next one is 8th one is again here teacher reflections and teacher reflections. So this is very important. Of course, headmaster also put the signature, that is how he is transacted by the observation. These are the various steps in the unit plan are. So once again I am recapitulate all these things because this is very important. The first one is, you know that you have to write the class, okay, you have to write the topic, and you have to write the number of periods, and you have to write the teaching learning material, and you have to write the learning outcomes. These are the 5. Now 6th one is a period wise plan. You know that number of the period, whether it is the first period or second period or third period, and next topic, subtopic or topic. And then you have to write the strategies, what kind of strategies you are adopting for the classroom transaction for the particular topic, and what are the resources is the next one, and finally you have to write the evaluation. These are the various steps in the period wise plan. Now coming to the next one is you have to write additional information or the teacher notes. So they have to write which information is required other than the given in the textbook, then what kind of reference books they are referred, and they have to write in their teacher notes or additional information. Finally, he has to write the reflections. So this is called a unit plan or the skeleton analysis, just the skeleton analysis. You have to improvise these things, but these steps are mandatory. Okay, now coming to the next one is a period plan. So in the period plan you have the information. So period plan, again you have steps, like the first one is class, Okay, second one you know that unit, okay, which unit you are going to teach, okay. And in a second one, in the first in class you have to write unit wise number of periods, time and content. So, that is a very important. Now, second one is academic standards. In the class first one class you have to write some sub points here. Sub points means here from which unit it is. You have to write the name of the unit, this is a very important. And what is the number of period, which period it is. And the third one is time. What is the time here? In general, time is simply 45 minutes. So, you have to write 45 minutes, that is very important. And the next one is content, which topic, content or topic is comes in the first one. You have to write the class, which class it is, write the unit name and write the number of period, which period it is, and write the time. So, how much time you are going to take this period. In general, time is 45 minutes as per the instructions of the academic calendar, and which is the content or topic you have to write. This comes as the first one. Now, coming to the next one is academic standards. So, second one is academic standards. So, you have to write all 7 academic standards. So, maybe all academic 7 standards are covered in that particular period, sometimes may not. So, maybe 2, maybe 3. So, which academic standards you are going to adopt or going to evaluate in that particular concept, you have to write the academic standards. Okay. Now, coming to the third one is, so is it over? Now, come to the third. Steps, it is a tabular form. First one, third one is you have to write the steps. Second one is strategies. And the third one is blackboard work. Fourth one is teaching learning material. The last one is evaluation. Okay. This is the third, you have a tabular form. This first one is steps. What are the steps you are going to write in this, and strategies, which strategies are you going to adopt it. And the next one is blackboard work. What is the blackboard work you are going to do in this period plan. The next one is teaching learning material, which teaching learning material you are going to adapt for exhibit or perform in the activity or conceptual development, and finally evaluation. Here the first step in this period plan is introduction. So, this is very important. So, you have to give the introduction about the chapter. Okay, what strategies you are going to adopt it? The first one is greeting. So, greeting. So, you have to greet the children. Good morning children, welcome to our class, like you have to greet the children. That is a very important thing. That is the first one. Now, the second one, test of previous knowledge. Test of previous knowledge is a very important. So, this is called prerequisites. So, we call it as prerequisites also. For each chapter some information is required. So, you have to test the children by asking the questions. So, then you can understand how they are related to learning the concept. For example, if they doesn't know reflection, doesn't know refractions, if you want to say as a scattering of light, is it possible to understand? Not possible. Without knowing atomic structure properties, whether you are able to understand chemical bonding, not possible, because if you know the atomic structure, so there are s orbital, p orbital, d orbital, f orbital, like, so there is ss orbital hybridization, sp orbital hybridization, pp orbital hybridization. If you say these words, generally this one we call it as that. So these are the two strategies we are using in the introduction part. Now coming to the second one. In the second one, you have announcement of the topic. So, announcement of the topic is very, very important. So, now after introduction we will announce that today you are going to learn this chapter. So, here the strategies whole class as a unit. So, whole class activity, that is here the strategy or whole class activity. Okay. So, we will take the total whole class and we will announce that the children will participate in that. Now, the third step is improve the lesson. So, he has by using the various activities, various teaching learning material, though they has to improve the lesson. This is the most important. Here also the strategy is whole class activity. This is a very important. So, if you are a good teacher, so how the observer can assess you through period plan. So, how the classroom transaction is going on means it's a completely written presentation. So, classroom transaction you are taking class is a oral presentation and this is a written presentation. So, how you are going to present the classroom, that is a period plan. Okay, now coming to the fourth one, you know that I am erasing it. It's a fourth one, again I am taking the same tabular form. The fourth one is a presentation of the topic, lesson. Presentation of the lesson. Now, we are going to present the lesson by using different formats. Here the strategy adopted is nothing but is a conceptual understanding. Conceptual understanding is the strategy. You are using that, then you are going to apply for the various one. Now, coming to the next one is the fourth one. This is a, you know that presentation is the fourth one. Now, fifth strategy, fifth step is problem solving. Problem solving or simply you can treat it as activities. Okay. If it is numerical problems are more, then you can calculate as a problem solving. Activities are more, then you have to say activities. And the next one is model problems. Okay. So, you have to give some model problems, otherwise you have to give the laboratory activities. Laboratory activities, this is a very, very important. Okay, you have to give the laboratory activities. So, finally, it comes as a recapitulation. So, recapitulation, so means you have 7 steps. You have 7 steps. So, 7 steps means a recapitulate. You have to recapitulate the total concept. So, this is the most important. So, in this period plan, we have the steps. The first one, you know that you have to give the introduction, and the second one you have to announce the announcement of the third topic, and the third one improve your lesson, and the fourth one presentation of the lesson, and the fifth one we will simply we call it as presentation of the lesson. Of course, fifth one, that's the sixth one is a problem solving or activity performance, and the seventh one is a laboratory, of course model problems or laboratory activities, and the last one is a recapitulation. So, you have to ask some questions how the children is learned. So, these are the 3 plans to you are going to execute in the academic year. The first one is year plan, second one is unit plan, the third one is a period plan. I think so these are very, very, very important, not only for your examination, but also in the classroom transaction for conducting the academic year. Clear? So, I hope you understand very well. So, thank you for listening.